Hello and welcome to my Sunday Front. Today's mukbang is just an easy, simple meal. I just have a water and some electrolytes. I have diced peaches. I have peanut butter and honey crackers. And I have this mac and cheese. And so, let me put a sweater on so I don't get cold. But thank you for joining me, and today we'll be having a news update mukbang, and so I hope you guys stick around to the end so you get the whole scoop. And don't forget to watch my other videos where I talk more about these stories. And so let's get started. I have written down a few things that I wanted to cover. It just says update. And let's see. Let's look at our mac and cheese. Got my mac and cheese here. This is what I have. It's kind of congealed a little bit. This looks good. It is good. And so the first thing I don't get asked a lot about anymore, but I used to, was the Israeli conflict. And right now Biden is very much in the spotlight, even though, you know, this is a situation that's taking place in, you know, across the world. Well, so recently there was a drone attack in Jordan. There was 40 injured and 3 U.S. Army from Georgia, based out of Georgia. They were killed in the attack. There was a lot of speculation after, and this happened on, I believe it was the 28th, or it was on Sunday. And so Biden immediately decided that he needed to respond to Iran. So he blamed Iran. And so, like I said, we suffered casualties. We weren't the only people that suffered casualties, but we have, you know, Biden, you know, he's really, really keen-eyed on this situation. You know, and because the attack, you know, killed 3 U.S. service members, of course, today they were flew back, they were interred. Biden was there. And I believe there were a lot of people at that memorial when they fly them back to receive the flag. He was there with his wife, Joe Biden, and the immediate reaction he had was to retaliate. That was immediately. He wanted to respond. And I believe he said, if you harm a U.S. citizen, you will, that they will respond. And immediately, that's what he says. Every time a situation arises that there's a loss in, on our side, he will immediately respond. But this time, there were 85 targets in the open desert. So Syria now reports that they have suffered mass casualties. So although he was looking out for his constituents, he has affected 3 countries: Iraq, Syria, and Iran. His target was a branch of the Iranian Army of Defense. And like I said, this was not the first retaliation. He will proceed to continue until he deems them not a threat, So I have an update on the 3 mysterious deaths. The toxicology report came in. So the factors known and suspected, those were being brought up again. So the factors known were that there was a lot of alcohol consumption at the party, and the suspected being that they were quite into partying. And this even further, villainized Jordan Willis, the host, because he's a chemist, and that made people suspicious that maybe he had some type of secret meth lab or something. And they were just so on point, and they just clearly painted Jordan Willis to be a sketchy character in all of this, and he was just the host. And they painted the scenario, backdrop, just chugging beers down. And what came out of the toxicology report, kind of will bring more light into what occurred that night. As far as the host himself, he's not available for comment. He is protected right now, so you can't go and interview him right now. The 5th guest was background checked. People ran him on Google. They ran him across court cases. I believe they ran him across the general public. How do you feel about this guy? Have you heard this name? Does this name make you cringe or draw a uncomfortable, response? And all those answers were it kind of draws a skeptical notion of this man, the 5th man. And they claim that he had priors, drug related, and they claim that he distributed, possessed, and was involved in designer drugs. So the autopsy was finished. The toxicology reveals our suspicions are confirmed. The public suspicions are confirmed. You know, we watch a lot of news, guys. It's not like, you know, this is the first show that, you know, we've seen somebody just, you know, make a total donkey out of themselves. And so, you know, like I mentioned before, like, this isn't new to me. You're not shocking or surprising me. You're not disappointing me even. I'm already hardened. My heart has been built up a defended wall, and it will remain so until you prove otherwise, you know? Although I can tell you, as far as the courts are involved, this is on point with my message. So both survivors are kind of in contempt, though, don't you think? If they're both silent, if they both refuse to be cooperative completely, just, you know, they could have mentioned, what they could have done and what they still won't do, even though there is paperwork behind the facts, even though there is beyond a burden of a doubt that they have infiltrated the sense of security of their community. People fear their health because of the, you know, the public safety hazards that arose from this little party this host and this fifth guest refuse to talk about. They refuse to give, you know, cooperative answers. They refuse to give insightful answers. They refuse to give any information up that is relevant to the victimization of the deceased. Let me open up these peaches before I read off this little note I have. These are so good. So, I'm just going to read it off for you guys. 2 days after families found their loved ones, 5 days after the Kager, Jordan Willis, the host, was moved. He claims he received death threats. The police conducted a thorough search and interviewed host and fifth guest, who has remained silent, adding fuel to the suspicions. They believe there is no harm, no foul play. This is held up by the press. Only the public demands real answers. Get the trash out of our communities. Fentanyl is an issue. Cocaine, THC, fentanyl was found in the victims 30 times. Let me see this again. 30 times. A single lethal dose, a dose required for respite care, a level 10 medication for end-stage patient anesthesia. So if you can imagine the amount of consumption of, you know, party, you know, what are they, props now? This is not okay. This is not okay. The fifth guest and Jordan Willis, involuntary manslaughter. This happens when a drug dealer sells a drug, person dies. Anything could happen. Anything. But that's the charge. Given the amount of drug use, I'd say they're at least in contempt. I'd say, given the background of both of them, well, Jordan Willis is in rehab. So can we guess who provided the alcohol at least? Who provided the drugs at least? Actually, can we just say it? Can we be blunt and say it? To the point of death. This is 3 lives that were taken that night. And somebody knows something. At least they know something. And by now, I'd say they're in contempt. Take the trash off the street and put them where they belong. That's all we ask. And I will see you guys again soon on my Son de Frump. Bye-bye.